Hello, happiest of days to each of you folks. I hope you folks are having just an absolutely amazing day today. So today on Friday, I do top 10s of older things, like movies and traditionally lots of movies and that sort of thing too. I thought that since, this channel was created around the writing of older things, and that sort of a thing. Its name is even the worst thing about new books. It might be nice and fun for me to slide into that. So last week I did my top 10 authors of all time from a variety of different genres, and so I thought it would be fun for me today to knock out my next 10 favorite authors, number 20 through number 11, if you will, and that sort of thing. As a reminder, my first favorite author was J.R.R. Tolkien, who I read his Hobbit and Lord of the Rings when I was in grade school. Loved it. Lots of sort of advanced me. It gave me a love of fantasy that I didn't drop for a while. And then I started reading some stuff like Anne McCaffrey, Fred Saberhagen, and that sort of a thing. Then I started to read the Dragonlance Chronicles and by Margaret Weiss and then the R.A. Salvatore stuff as it was getting published over in Forgotten Realms. And he became my favorite author for years, and that sort of a thing. Then I encountered Michael Moorcock in 10th grade, and he became my favorite author. I loved his stuff. He sort of elevated myself as a reader too. He was my favorite author for 5 years. Then in junior year in college, I encountered H.P. Lovecraft, and then he became my favorite author. Then moving forward, loved this horror stuff. Love it lots. From his horror collection, Cthulhu Mythos, and that sort of a thing. And so those have been my 4 favorite authors. So all 4 of those hit last week. So who's hitting this week? Let's get started. At number 10, or 20 if you will, is C.S. Lewis. I read his Chronicles of Narnia. It was read to me too. Loved it lots. I think it's very strong stuff. Now, I do think that his writings and that sort of thing can tend to be a little overly loved, if you will. I think that some of his, if you go back and read it, I don't think that the writing is as strong as somebody he'll be hitting later on, or J.R. Tolkien's Hobbit, or that sort of thing too. So I don't think that the writing or word use is as strong for students that are growing up, but I definitely enjoy it. And I think there's some strong stuff there, and I read it for the show too. So number 9 is Arthur C.Clarke. I love Arthur C.Clarke. He's my favorite of the big 3 sci-fi writer and that sort of thing. So he'll actually be the only one that's hitting, the highest one hitting, that sort of thing. I started reading a lot of his stuff a few summers ago, and really love those stuff. All up and down the box. He's my favorite one. Alright, so number 8 is Abraham Merritt, who I like because he's my name, Abraham, although he publishes as A. Merritt. He's in he was considered by many to be the father of fantasy, or grandfather of fantasy, if you will. That sort of thing too. He wrote a lot of great fantasy stuff, from the Ship of Ishtar to other things too. I love his short stories too, and that sort of thing. His first short story was Moonpool, one of my favorite ones out there. I have it. It was great stuff, and it was so popular and sold so well. And he actually did a novelization of it too, which I've read and were reviewed as one of the first things I ever did for this channel. Yeah, but I prefer the short story though, just as a heads up. Alright, so number 7 on this list is Ramsey Campbell. For you folks, Ramsey Campbell is a British horror novelist and short story author. He started off as short stories in the Cthulhu Mythos as a teenager. And that sort of thing too. He still loves it. He still will edit the occasional Cthulhu Mythos collection and that sort of thing too. He's a great guy. Love him lots. And I've actually read one of his novels twice. Once for fun, and then once for his Channel 2 Club Midnight Sun. We didn't read an experimental novel, which he didn't think was that great, but actually I think it was a little bit better than he seems to think. Number 6 is Larry Niven. For you folks over at his Ringworld series, I've read many of his other books that he did in collaboration with other people too. He's a great guy. Love him lots. He's a very competent writer too. Great ideas, good stuff. Love him lots. And so that is Larry Niven for you folks. Alright, top 5 time. Number 5 is Anne McCaffrey. Love her lots. And that sort of thing. You can argue that her world of the first things I read after I read J.R. Tolkien's is the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings were at some in elementary school and sort of leveled me up and gave me that love for fantasy that still exists today. She was the next person I went to. It was the junior stuff, Dragon Song, Dragon Singer, Dragon Drums. But it was definitely strong stuff. Love it lots. And she's great stuff. I've gone back and read Dragon Riders Apart trilogy and that sort of thing too. She's great. She has a sort of, it's sort of a she's got sort of a science fiction explanation for the fantasy things that are happening. So I would consider her genre to be more specifically science fantasy, if you will. But she's good stuff. Laura Lots. Great stuff. I think she's an incredibly talented author too. That's Anne McCaffrey. All right. Number 4 is Fritz Lieber. Love Fritz Lieber so much. His Fafhrd and Green Mouser series put him on the map in a major way. I read it once for fun, once for this channel too. Tons of great short stories, novellas, and even a novel near the end too. Love it. Lots of the characters, the concepts. I've read some things by him outside of that, like a horror novella a couple times for him. And some stuff outside of that. So I do think he's some strong stuff. Love him lots. And that's Fritz Lieber. He's also hugely won tons of awards. All right, so now top 3 time. Number 3 is Roger Zelazny. Roger Zelazny, he's beloved by so many people. His Chronicles of Amber series is hugely great, where he created his own mythos, but typically likes to write mythoses. One of my favorite Cthulhu mythos novellas is by him. One of my favorite novels is by him. Outside of the Chronicles of Amber, one of my favorite series is by him, so he has to be him. Number 2 is Ursula K. Le Guin. I just went back and reread her Little Wizard of Ursula for this channel. It's still so great, so well hung up. She was somebody else I went to when I was a kid, and that sort of thing too. Loved her lots. I read the RFC series. Loved it lots. And that sort of thing then. And that's loved it great. I've also gone to some of her novels, and that sort of thing. And some of her novels are incredibly strong stuff too. They've seen it at this time. I actually read a short story collection of her for the channel too. Love it too. And so that's number 2. And then number 1 was Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, the authors of the Dragon Riders series, and that's sort of the Dragonlance rather. That trilogy, I've gone back and read that many times, and that sort of thing. Also with the show too, and then the sequel trilogy too, and then I have followed them from the Dark Swords to the 7-book Gate series. That sort of thing too. I love them so much. They're incredibly competent and well beloved for a lot of reasons. And I said Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, dual winners at number 1 or 11, if you will. Alright, so let's go over my top 10 once again. Number 10 is C.S. Lewis. Number 9 is Arthur C.Clarke. Number 8 is Abraham Merritt. Number 7 is Ramsey Campbell. Number 6 is Larry Niven. Number 5 is Anne McCaffrey. Number 4 is Fritz Lieber. Number 3 is Roger Zelazny. Number 2 is Ursula K. Le Guin. And number 1 is Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman for you folks. Alright. So there you are. Have you read their stuff? What did you think? What would be your list? That sort of thing. Also check out last week's list. I think you'll enjoy that quite a bit too, for all those great things that are out there. But lots. Tomorrow I do something called Serial Saturday, where I review older movie serials or TV serials from decades ago that were heavily influential on modern stuff, but we sort of forgotten that. I just watched Pirate Treasure one a couple of weeks ago, and now last week I watched something called The Invisible Monster. I was hoping, because it was in the late 50s, that this would be more of a sci-fi or horror, but it's actually just because it's set in 1950s, where it was when it's being published and written, and that sort of thing. So it's actually a Cold War spy thriller, so you can check that out too. On Wednesday, I do older video game reviews, so you can check that out too. Right now, I'm doing the Fallout series. I did Fallout 3 a couple of days ago, and then I also do lots of those things. And then on Monday, I do older things in science fiction, or in more games like BattleTech or RPGs. Right now, I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons modules. And that sort of a thing too. Right now, I'm doing the lesser known UK series and give it the Mutual Week out of Power Stone. So next is UK 5 from the TSR office. And then the other 3 reviews I do a week are of older things in the 3 genres that we cover. Like I mentioned before, science fiction, fantasy, and horror for you folks. And then great stuff. So if those things sound like your cup of tea, then great. Welcome to the channel. I think you'll enjoy your time here quite a bit, right? And while you're here, why not do all the YouTube stuff, like hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon to be notified of those videos, and then also just let your friends know, all that stuff too. As you can tell from those older things, it's the passion. It's even where its name comes from. The worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old stuff, right? That is definitely some older things we might have forgotten about, and our passion for the new stuff, right? All right, so check that out too. And there you are. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I just want to thank you so very, very much for just taking some time out of your day and investing it, right, and watching my videos, because we all have so many things, right, that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions too, right? So the fact you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.